Yeah, yeah, okay. Okay, welcome back to you all. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. And hello, Olga. Yeah. Please sit down and we can further on in the program. Unfortunately, our man from Kenya, Michael Nyenga, he's not here. He is sick, and he emailed Roberto yesterday that he's not be able to be here. That's a pity, but that's for Olga and Martijn. Do you have a little bit more time for your presentation? We close at 3 o'clock, so it's 15 minutes, and it's about peer work, peer support, and a presentation about hearing voices. Martijn, can I ask you for your presentation?
Thank you. Thank you. The mic is on. First, before I start, I usually walk on the stage because behind the table is a bit of stressing. They told me I have to stay on the... First of all, I want to thank the organization for inviting me. It is always a pleasure to meet the people from Trieste, and especially the peers. I'm looking, where are they? Yes, okay, I see them, okay. I feel always at home here, and when I was thinking about coming to Trieste for a couple of months ago, I was already enjoying the fact that I would come to Trieste, because sometimes working in your own environment is hard and you need inspiration and connection. So thank you, Trieste, for having me. I will talk about a recovery college, Enig Recovery College, but that is more of an example of a peer-run innovation, and it will be the core of my talk that I think that we need peer-run innovations to have a big impact on mental health and society. I hope you will agree after I've finished my talk, and when you disagree, it is fine with me, but I hope we agree. And I put the picture of this conference in my slides because the Marco Carvalho is such a powerful symbol to me, to have dreams and to bring them into society. So Marco Carvalho, you will always be in my heart. Okay, a little bit of introduction. I'm Martijn Kolen. I'm a Dutch guy, and I advise Jan Berndsen, the guy here next to me. And I'm founder of the Enig Recovery College, and I try to be a peer leader. And I will go to talk about Enig Recovery College. And Enig Recovery College is a 100% peer-led community, learning environment, learning community. And I will give a short impression. Enig is no longer on its own because we have two separate colleges now. To the left, for the viewers, to the left, is the main building, and I will mainly talk about that. And to the right, our new facility in Overvecht. And Utrecht, this is Utrecht. Utrecht is quite comparable to Trieste in size and in the people who live there. Not as warm but quite comparable. Okay, and this is a picture, aerial picture, and I try to make it into a joke that our Dutch NSA is asking itself what is happening there, but it is just a Google Maps picture, so no troubles with the security agents. To the left, this is a building of 2,000 square meters. That is a big building, and we made a sort of total concept on peer support using all the available space. And it was quite a challenge for us to create a concept that is using those 2,000 square meters, because when you walk through a building of 2,000 square meters and you ask yourself, what am I going to do there? That is a big challenge. So, but it is turning out well. We have also a small patch of land for some animals, and in the summer it's very nice to sit outside. The peers from Trieste have been there, and you can also have a good boat ride with nice weather. Okay, but what is the purpose of Enig Recovery College? And to understand the purpose of the college, you have to understand what is happening when you experience severe mental health challenges. And I try, and of course, I will be very careful not to make it into a sort of a blueprint for everyone. I'm myself trained in open dialogue, so I know how important it is to be not framing everything that you've experienced, but this is what I think that happens when people experience severe mental health challenges. Because the disruption is not only on the topic of mental health issues. You start to experience loss on your job, on your social status, on stigma, on self-esteem, and people who are long within mental health services start to ask themselves, who am I? Do I belong in society? Am I feeling part of society? And start to get into a sort of risk reduction mode. And the risk reduction mode is a mode to start retreating from society to experience less loss. And I can explain it by an example. One of the examples of my life is when my niece was born. Tessa is my oldest niece, the daughter of my sister. And I was living in a sheltered living from Lister. And I was invited to visit my sister and her daughter. She was just born, so everybody was happy. And I went to my sister and I couldn't enjoy my niece. Because seeing my niece was a mirror of my own failure of being single, not having a child, not having a career, not having a own home. I had just a small room in a group home, and I had one thing on my mind, and that was I want to leave. And I left, and I came back into the group home, and I thought, oh, what a relief! Here, everyone is a loser. And this is just one of the examples, and there were many, many, many examples. So society can be a mirror of your loss, and it can be threatening, it can be life-threatening to have more loss than you can bear. So you start to get into a risk reduction mode and start to shelter from everything that is part of life. So I call it the mutual exclusion. And you see society excludes because it has difficult dealing with your suffering, but you yourself are also excluding yourself from society. And this is creating parallel dimensions. So you live in the dimension of mental health. Everything is organized within mental health. Your own thinking is organized in mental health. All the framing is done within mental health. So it is difficult to extract people from that parallel dimension. And there comes peer support. And I think we need radical changes. So next to community mental health, we need peer support environments for people to change and deconstruct their own self-stigmas. So two things are important. Self-help, that people learn to help themselves. Of course, you mental health care workers are important and we need you, but we need ourselves. We need to understand and use our own knowledge. We have much more knowledge than we think. We live for 24 hours a day with ourselves. We struggle through the nights, we struggle through the days, struggle through the weekends. So there is a lot of knowledge we can use. Most of the time it isn't used. So let's start using it. And the second one, peer support, is so important. When you're in a risk reduction mode and somebody approaches you and says, okay, listen Martijn, I know where you are. I know exactly where you are. I know what is at stake. I know it is terrifying. I know it takes a lot of courage to leave that risk reduction mode. But it is possible. It won't be easy. Maybe it is easier to stay where you are. But I've tried it, and I've tried it, and I tried to make it into a success. So why don't you try it? And I keep inviting you until you grab my hand, and together we try to face the challenges that it will face. And within the peer support is the most important thing is the recognition, the mutual recognition. And also that you're not only supporting someone, but also getting support. And I think people won't grow by just getting support. They grow by giving support, by being important to someone. So peer support is about mutual support. And Jan will help me with the time. Yes. Okay. Another topic is that our program is created in co-creation. And co-creation means that people who are using the self-help program come up with ideas of new kinds of self-help, new kinds of peer support groups. Everything is done in groups, and it is all in a sort of learning together framework, not in therapy framework or in a learning together framework, in a peer support framework. And what you see is that people who used to be participants develop themselves in becoming peer support facilitators. And the program is expanding and expanding and expanding, so all kinds of different kinds of peer support groups are emerging. And everything is done in an open space where nobody is framing for the other. So you are very in charge of how you frame your own story. And two things are important: the reciprocity, so the running of the college is done in co-creation in every detail of the college, and the sharing of experiential knowledge. And what you see is that people choose their moment of deconstructing their own stigma and bridging their own part of the gap. And that is important. Okay, so at ENIC you are a peer, you are a participant, you are not a client or a user. So I don't know what the diagnosis or what people are bringing from the old framework. Nee, they are students, they are participants, they are co-creators, they are facilitators, and that brings a big relief for people that they have a different role and a different identity. And you're equal. So to keep that climate of equality is the main thing. So a low threshold, everyone is welcome, and everyone is equal. And you create your own recovery journey. So I am not responsible, but I'm not able to print out the recovery journey if someone is taking. So people are their own bosses on that topic. And what you see is that people start to relate to each other and also opening up for loss of relationships or feedback, trying to make a college a success together, and that also involves getting feedback on your your role as a member of the community. And interesting thing is that you don't get discharged as in hospital, you get your certificate. And that is a big joy for people. So, the college is the backbone. We have also social living, so there are living 15 students in the college. We have a meeting place, a social venue, and everything is run by peers. And one thing, and this is an old picture, we have not a time out, but we have a retreat. And I will start telling you a little bit about the retreat. Because of the space of the college, we have nice rooms, you see, nice rooms. People can join a retreat. And a retreat is a peer-run program from Monday till Friday in which you can find your own bearing again. Because living within the parallel dimension of mental health services can lead to a sort of getting lost, being dependent on other people to find the direction and the landmines and the obstacles. The retreat is primarily for people to find the sort of inner compass, an inner bearing. So what is my direction? Who am I? And finding together during those 5 days a sort of companionship in trying to get less dependent on all kinds of support and getting more support out of your own identity. And what you see in those 5 days, that people grow, even people who are on the list of becoming hospitalized, grow and find more of a direction in their home. And we do it also in a nice environment, no locked doors, no seclusion, just a friendly environment where people are in charge themselves. So there is also no nurse in the night, just a student who is taking care of evacuation when the recovery college is burning, nothing less. Okay, so in the retreat program, people are participants and they work on their own recovery and trying to find their own bearing. I've told you that. In the retreat program, things like mindfulness, drama, all kinds of creativity is shared, and it is also done in a relaxed, enjoyable atmosphere. And so to summarize, and our college is 100% peer-run. Key is autonomy and agency, that people grow in the sense of agency, that they start to empower. And when they start to empower, something happens, that they don't always enjoy mental health care. They are not always happy, that they are not always saying, okay, oh, great. No, they start to become more of an agent for their own well-being. So it starts to attract tension and shifting balances of power. So when you start to organize this, take into account that there will be a different dynamics, and you have to be open for new power balances. Everyone is welcome, so not everyone who joins our college, and this year there will be 1,400 of them, is user of mental health service. But there are a lot of people who are very lonely, very isolated, very disrupted, but not within our services. So they come to our college and they find their own language and voice again. And our college is a framework that helps us to protect the free space and the values of the peer support and self-help. We are a very normalized environment, so the coffee is great, and there is not a glass panel wall at the entrance. We use known medical language, so that is also important. And yeah, in the essence, it is a sort of deconstructing environment. We are trying to expand. This is the region of Utrecht, Utrecht in the center, and we will expand to the green area, 3 smaller recovery colleges, in the brown area, 1 recovery college, and in the purple area, 1 as well. We start small, but we start to expand. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Martijn, you have forgotten to say that we have received a message from our local government that you and your college have a grant for the next 9 years to run ENIC as a recovery college. So it's an extra applause. Are there any questions for Martijn? Or remarks or... Yeah.
Sorry, it's me again. Just wondering about substance use and service users and how that fits in.
Yes, they are all welcome. So people who are homeless, people who have substance, even it is interesting that within our own services, the managers and the professionals think that our college is not fit for their group of users, but they come even. The most disrupted people come in our college. They even helped us with renovating the building. They slept above the elevator shaft. And we just, by accident, we found a nice made bed and some personal belongings above the elevator shaft. So everyone is welcome. All kinds of cultures are welcome, and they come. When you open up, and you have the right climate and the hospitality, and you do in co-creation. Please do it in co-creation. Then people will come.
Okay. Any other question? No. Okay. Thank you, Martijn, for your lecture. And now it's time for Olga Runciman from Denmark, and she will tell us about voices, hearing voices, and okay.
Can I hold it? Or maybe I can't. Hello? Oops. Okay. Well, hello everyone. And thank you for inviting me to speak today. I am a psychologist today. I used to work as a psychiatric nurse. Okay, can you hear me? Yeah. I used to work as a psychiatric nurse, and then I spent 10 years in the psychiatric system where I was defined as chronic and incurably ill with no hope of any future. So that was actually one of the reasons I decided to become a psychologist, because I was told that I was labeled as schizophrenic. I was told that there was no point in talking about things. It would only make me worse. So I decided to become a psychologist for all those who were also told that same story. So I'm speaking from both sides of the psychiatric system, though today I'm representing the hearing voices, as I'm a voice here as well. And this is a movement. It's found in 35 countries around the world, and it's supporting people who hear voices, have visions, experience being persecuted, all kinds of unusual experiences that are not shared by others. Well, today we're going to be meeting to discuss and talk about recovery, human rights, something that's very important for me, and psychiatry, And we're doing it here in, I don't know if I pronounce it right, but the Franca e Franco Basilia. Basilea. Ah, right, there you are. You know, it's an honor to be here because it's about 40 or 41 years since Franco Basaglia implemented the law 180, which prohibited new admissions into the big, huge asylums, and he ultimately resulted in freeing the patients. So I truly think that's a wonderful historical piece of history and something we need to do more of. Yeah. Anyway, before I tell a story of hope from the Hearing Voices Network, I want to point out that at least in my country, which is Denmark, that's where I live, despite programs trying to reduce force and forced treatment and all this sort of thing, 2018, which is the latest results that we have, they show that the use of force is the highest ever, and it has basically been increasing every year. So despite these huge efforts for change, at least, we at least are continuing to go in the opposite direction. And you can ask why. You know, because, I mean, despite years of human rights breaches regarding seclusion and forced treatment, you know, it just goes on. And interestingly, nobody has ever researched if forced treatment actually helps the patient, which I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty extraordinary, considering how much it's used. And the only piece of research that I could find, anyway, which sort of gets close to it, is a meta-analysis from 2016, which looked at 10 countries. And what they did was they were looking at how forced treatment affects the length of stay in the hospital, because that was based on the assumption that if forced treatment is helpful, it would shorten the time in the hospitals. So they looked at 3 types of force. They looked at isolation or seclusion, they looked at being put in restraints, and they looked at forced medication. And unsurprisingly, at least from my perspective, all 3 types of this kind of treatment lengthened the stay in the hospital, but isolation or seclusion was the one that was the worst at increasing time in hospital. But what they also found, which was interesting, is that in all 10 hospitals, forced medication produced angry patients, and they continued to be angry long after they were being discharged. So, and there's maybe, you know, I sometimes think that in everywhere where we have what we call traditional Western psychiatry, there is movements against it. We don't have movements against neurologists. We don't have a worldwide movement against them or things. So we have to start, you know, listening. And Robert Whittaker's book, which I think is a pivotal book, Anatomy of an Epidemic, he clearly shows that the traditional Western psychiatry is flawed and actually overall causes more harm than good. And we continue to talk a lot. We have a lot of words, but actually what we need is more action. So I want today to be the start of the next Franco Basaglia revolution. So let's start on that one. Anyway, to a story of hope, and that's taken from my thesis, and I'm using it to highlight a few aspects of why human rights abuses occur in psychiatry and why these actions are denied by psychiatry, and through this story to see what can and why it helps. So it's from the Hearing Voices. So I'm going to describe, she's called Pat, that's not her real name, but she's okay with that I shared the story. She was a young woman, she was 19 years old, and she was locked away in psychiatry because she attempted to commit suicide after being raped. And despite the staff knowledge about the rape being the reason she tried to commit suicide, it was the focus on Pat's voices that took priority and resulted in her diagnosis of schizophrenia and the implementation of forced treatment and locked doors. So Pat was forcibly injected with the medication, and because she was never told why, other than it was good for her, they emphasized it was good for her, she said, and I'll quote, "I got more and more paranoid. I wouldn't eat, I wouldn't drink. I felt everything was poison, that people were trying to poison me just because they never told me. I never understood what the drugs did or do. So I was very, very sleepy, very sedated. And Pat's behavior became increasingly unusual because she began to, for example, start to drink from puddles and lick windows. So if we're looking at it from a psychiatric perspective, Pat's symptoms would seem bizarre and meaningless. Her behavior would reinforce the staff's belief that she had schizophrenia. And she has schizophrenia. Why? Because she behaves in a bizarre and meaningless way. In other words, the staff are engaging in the typical psychiatric circular reasoning, which is quite endemic in psychiatry, and it remains so because of the power structures that are in place. So in Pat's case, by being framed and silenced in this manner, it resulted in her becoming a revolving door patient, and she spent years going in and out of psychiatry. You could look on the surface that you'd think the fear of poison, starving oneself, and only drinking from puddles, licking windows, that could be classified as extreme behavior, worthy of being called madness. And everyone was understanding this world of madness as a sort of a diagnosable biological phenomenon that could only be controlled through chemical means, and the laws are in place to make this perspective the right one, then everything fits neatly into, as in Pat's case, the schizophrenia box, and we have actually both the solution and the answer. But what if there's another understanding, another perspective, which is the one we in the Hearing Voices focus very much on, which is connecting madness to lived life with all the complexities of human meaningfulness in the center. Because this creates space for understanding, not just for the person in distress, but actually also for those who are trying to help her. Because you see, in Pat's case, she didn't just carry a story of rape with her, she carried a history of extreme child abuse. Because she herself was a child born of rape, with the result that her mother had treated her with great cruelty and violence, and she was constantly beaten and berated for being a product of rape. Now Pat is raped, and already there is a link, right? You can see that, right? So in Pat's home, it had a room in the cellar, which was for their coal, and from a very early age, her mother would lock Pat in there as punishment. Sometimes sometimes 2 whole days she'd be locked in there with no food or water. Often naked, she would have to bury herself under the coal to keep warm with all the other bugs and things that lived in there. But there was a very small window, and sometimes there she could get a bit of water by licking the condensation off the window, and if it had rained, it would seep in on the windowsill, and so she could lick it off the windowsill. So do you hear there's another connection forming already, with her actions in psychiatry? She's regressing to old ways of surviving in a threatening situation. So in the coal cellar, also, there was a little window, and she could see the moon at night. And the moon became her friend, whom she could talk to. And however, the moon, she experienced the moon was fickle because its moonbeams would point to where she could hide food that she smuggled in under her clothes. That is until her mum found out and sent her in there naked. But being a child, she didn't actually understand the movement of the world and the moon. So when she went to try and find the food again, it wasn't there anymore when the moonbeam was pointing at it. So her voices started in the coal cellar, and among other things, the moon was one of her voices there who would both comfort and punish her. When she was 7, she moved, and there was no coal cellar, but her mum continued to derive new methods of really horrendous forms of punishment. All the while, her mother would tell her what a bad child she was, and that what she was doing was for her own good. Do you hear another link, a really big one? Yeah, you've got psychiatry saying the same thing there. So, you've got psychiatry's discourse, it silences Pat, but at the same time, it's not offering any explanation for their actions towards her. So a gulf of realities is created, resulting in both parties thinking the other's actions is incomprehensible, and both will be creating a narrative of understanding to account for the other's actions. However, it is psychiatry's dominant discourse and the laws that support this that becomes the established truth, and Pat's truth is obliterated, and she's forced into the role of a schizophrenic. But because her reality is silenced, it doesn't mean it's gone, right? On the contrary, it's there. It's weaving itself into the dominant narrative created by psychiatry, where it's perceived as madness and justifying psychiatry as an enterprise. So, what happens when meaning and understanding is introduced and madness can be placed in a context? Will that threaten to destabilize orthodox psychiatry as we know it? Probably, yeah. Or could it be the start of, a more humane way of helping people, a more humane system? For Pat, she spent years as a revolving door patient until she met the Hearing Voices movement, and it was first there that she found her voice along with her fellow voice hearers and her peers. And she's today out of the system, helping others find meanings and madness from the understanding. And I'm actually also here today representing the Hearing Voices movement and its message that madness is meaningful and it can be helped without having to resort to human right breaches and through coercion and through force. And we have to actually do better, and we can. And I think the areas of inspiration is, for example, right here today with the history. Then there's WHO's Quality Rights and its initiative of identifying examples of good community practices and the respect of rights, and promote recovery. I think it's fantastic that we've got the WHO. This is a massive organization that is really solid. So once they start moving, it will change things, and they are. And then you've got, of course, the open dialogue system, which is a whole system that existed in isolation, almost I'd say, up in Lapland, which had a completely different way of working with people through dialogue, through talking. And they have the highest success rates in the world. They've done lots of research there. So, then the Hearing Voices movement, I think, is also a very good example of the NGOs. And we've actually been able to play a very big role both in helping there, but also in changing things. And I know in Denmark, we've been pivotal in introducing the idea of recovery. Then we have the new institute, which I think is a very exciting one, the International Institute for Psychiatric Drug Withdrawal, which is another initiative which is collating knowledge and providing information to help people withdraw from neuroleptics successfully. Then we've got the Global South, which has many community-orientated helping systems, which we could learn from in the, here in the North and certainly in Scandinavia, rather than trying to impose the biomedical traditional psychiatric model on them. So, that's just to name quite a few examples. And I want to sort of use a final quote from Pat when she's describing meeting her psychiatrist after she's been met the Hearing Voices Network. And she said to me, I'm on Risperdal now, but they've given me breast milk and the sulpiride stopped my period. So I said to my psychiatrist, hey, can you take me off the sulpiride? Because Max from the Hearing Voices Network had overheard me having a conversation with a friend about my period. And he said to me, hey, Pat, I'm not meaning to butt in, but I think your sulpiride is about the same as Risperdal. Stop taking them if you can, because that's stopping your period. So when I went to the psychiatrist, he said to me, well, what would you rather be? Well in the head or have your period? And I said, well, I'd like to have both, And then I said, well, you being a man, I can't really talk to you about periods. So I said, how would you like it if you, for example, couldn't get it up? And he went, ooh, why are you being so personal? There's no need to be personal, Pat. And I said, I'm not being personal. I'm just trying to tell you that, if you couldn't perform, you wouldn't be happy if you knew it was this drug. And the psychiatrist said, oh, well, we all have to make sacrifices. And Pat said, I thought to myself, No. So finally, I just want to end by quoting C.S. Lewis. Of all the tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. For those who torment us for our own good will torment us without end, for they do so with the approval of their own conscience. Thank you. Any questions?
Are there any questions for Olga? Or remarks or...
No.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Whoa, I really have voices this year. That's good, then I'm not mad yet.
It's just a question. So there is an international movement about hearing voices, and of course there are many organizations like Intervoice and others which are doing great work. So, but how do you think that?
Is that me?
How do you think this can be, created such an approach that is incorporating this component into, standard formal services we have? So do you think it's possible to, extract some suggestions or some approaches that can be useful for standard services?
Yes, I think. Hello? Yes, I definitely think so, because I think as soon as we start to introduce the concept that madness, and I like to put that there, madness is meaningful, that it is connected to life stories, that it is connected to people, and starts to make sense. If it starts to make sense to the people who are going to help you, then you're way ahead already there. We have many anti-stigma campaigns, and including we've had a big one ongoing in Denmark. But what it tends to do, like in many countries, it focuses on that there's a brain illness, which actually increases the belief system and increases discrimination, increases stigma. So when we introduce the idea that it is meaningful and other people begin to hear that it is meaningful, it changes the relationships. And as soon as you change relationships and engage, you're already, really far along. We also have ways of where a lot of people do try to do help with doing trainings. We have the Maastricht interview, which is both for people who hear voices and visions. We also have for paranoia, which is can be very helpful, and I'd say almost more helpful in many ways to staff, because it helps them actually ask questions that many times we don't know how to ask. Most people who end up with the really schizophrenia, these heavy diagnoses, have stories of trauma, and sexual abuse is very, very common. Yet it is something that we rarely talk about in mental health at all. It's never mentioned, or not never mentioned, but rarely mentioned. And so these schemas can help people, when there's a relationship, to ask questions. So there's lots of things we can do, absolutely, and we can work together. Yeah. So.
Other questions for Olga? No? Okay, dear audience, I think this was an example of the real experts in this mental health world. So, I would like to ask you if you are be able to facilitate this kind of people, do it. And it's very helpful for a better mental health in the future. So, enormous applause for these two experts. Okay, we're going on. Mrs. Mirella Ruggieri, she is now in a taxi from the train station to here. She's not at the moment here. So I think we can start with the video, Home Again, from Vandana. I don't know if they are here or is it only a video. I don't know. Okay. Pina Ridente, she's there. Okay, she's coming. Okay. Okay. Let's go on. Pina,
Sì.
for you.
Il report. Beh, buon pomeriggio, io vi porto i saluti di Vandana Gopi Kuram. Lei non ha potuto prendere parte a questa conferenza perché ha problemi familiari, ma veramente invia i suoi saluti, per cui c'è un breve video che tra poco verrà proiettato e giusto vi do alcune informazioni sull'organizzazione con la quale tra l'altro noi stiamo collaborando. Grazie. Sì, mentre parte ho qui il report che annualmente fanno di questa organizzazione che si chiama The Banyan ed è connesso con l'Università de Balm. È un'organizzazione che è stata fondata nel 1993, quindi 25 anni fa, proprio da Vandana. È nata come una piccola organizzazione che si fondava soprattutto sul dare accoglienza a donne homeless e con problemi di salute mentale. In India ci sono circa 17 milioni di persone che dormono in strada e di queste il 25-30% hanno problemi di salute mentale, quindi c'è un numero abbastanza grosso, anzi decisamente grande, di persone che vivono in condizioni assolutamente disperate e di queste un gran numero sono proprio donne che quindi vanno soggette a tutti i tipi di abusi in mezzo alla strada. Inizialmente quindi questa organizzazione ha procurato ospitalità ad un piccolo gruppo iniziale di donne e ora il progetto si è esteso a un riferimento di territorio di circa 1 milione di persone in 3 stati del sud dell'India e che comprendono un gran numero di distretti sia cittadini in città come Chennai in Tamil Nadu al sud dell'India, quindi megalopoli, sia di zone rurali. Nelle zone rurali c'è il gravissimo problema della difficoltà ad accedere alle cure primarie e alle cure di salute mentale per la popolazione indiana. Solamente un numero intorno al 50% riesce ad accedere, per persone con disturbi gravi riesce ad accedere alle cure in salute mentale. Attualmente l'organizzazione comporta diversi tipi di servizi che sono sia strutturali, con strutture anche grosse come questa Emergency Care and Recovery Service, che è un posto di accoglienza per donne senza dimora e con problemi di salute mentale. Ci sono 120 posti letto. Per noi giustamente si può avere l'idea che è una struttura troppo grande, in effetti lo è anche per loro, però è anche vero che l'alternativa per queste donne è veramente dormire in strada. Accedono a questo servizio donne direttamente dalla strada o negli ultimi anni si sono organizzate hanno avuto l'autorizzazione finalmente a poter collaborare con l'ospedale psichiatrico di Chennai, ancora un ospedale chiuso, e quindi stanno lavorando per portare fuori queste donne dall'ospedale e accoglierle in questa struttura, dove però rimangono la maggior parte, l'80%, vengono poi rapidamente, abbastanza rapidamente, aiutate a trovare altra sistemazione nelle comunità e anche aiutate a trovare degli sbocchi lavorativi. C'è anche una piccola struttura con 30 posti per gli uomini, sempre uomini che hanno problemi di salute mentale e che vivono in strada. E per questo tipo di situazioni ci sono anche tutta una serie di risposte diurne che permettono, se non hanno la possibilità di dare sistemazione notturna, almeno di dare risposta diurna per i bisogni primari e per l'aiuto a trovare delle sistemazioni lavorative. Grande attenzione posta a trovare poi nelle comunità delle risposte abitative con delle forme inclusive di abitazione supportata in termini di co-housing o abitazioni condivise. E uno dei progetti più importanti è questo Home Again. Il piccolo video sarà proprio su questo tipo di progetto che attualmente accoglie circa 200 donne, costituito da piccoli gruppi appartamento, dalle 5 massimo 10 persone, dislocati in diverse aree e nei diversi stati, dove ci sono dei supporti, perché si tratta di donne che hanno bisogno di cura nel lungo periodo. C'è una modalità anche molto interessante in cui queste donne che ricevono l'accoglienza ricevono anche la possibilità di poter lavorare sia all'interno della stessa organizzazione, per esempio svolgendo delle mansioni precise all'interno di questi alloggi, o integrandosi nella comunità con delle attività tipo aiutare per lavare gli abiti, stirare, accudire ai bambini, cucinare. Quindi sono delle forme proprio di integrazione, badano molto a che le persone di supporto, i care workers, provengano dalla stessa piccola comunità, questo per rendere tutto molto più ben accetto all'interno della comunità in cui vengono collocate. Home Again è in via di sviluppo, tra l'altro. Questa organizzazione viene finanziata per il 10% da governativo, il 30% da donatori e il 60% da una fondazione. L'altro tipo di servizio è il Community Mental Health Program, che è una sorta di servizio di cure primarie con un team multidisciplinare che dà supporto in termini sanitari e in termini di salute mentale, che lavora sia come ambulatorio ma moltissimo con visite domiciliari. E questo è fondamentale soprattutto nelle aree rurali dove per le persone è difficile accedere, come dicevamo. C'è anche un supporto dato ai bambini che si trovano in grave difficoltà perché magari senza famiglia o con famiglie assolutamente non in grado, magari per motivi economici, di dare qualche tipo di assistenza, e quindi ci sono molti supporti in termini di attività. Grande attenzione posta all'inserimento lavorativo, quindi con la creazione di percorsi di formazione e di inserimento, per esempio in ristoranti, bar, negozi, attività di varia natura, ma anche creando delle piccole imprese sul tipo della cooperazione sociale. Una è dedicata ed è abbastanza grande alla produzione di manufatti che vengono venduti poi in vari luoghi, e un'altra che è in sviluppo e con la quale noi come Dipartimento di Salute Mentale di Trieste stiamo collaborando è la creazione di una agenzia turistica che vuole mettere insieme un po' tutto questo tipo di attività, dalla produzione di artefatti al collegamento di tutte queste realtà che sono sparse all'interno dell'India del Sud, che è molto turistica e dove le persone che attualmente alloggiano in Home Again possono diventare parte di queste cooperative sociali. Concludo solo con alcuni dati. Attualmente sono 2000, questo è un report del 2017, ce n'è uno del 2018, ma mi sembrava meno chiaro, per cui ho preferito scegliere questo. Quindi attualmente sono 2500 le persone che hanno trovato alloggio nel posto per il rescue, recovery, e di queste l'80% hanno trovato alloggio in vari tipi di coabitazione o case per loro da soli. Il 40% di questi hanno trovato un inserimento lavorativo, sono più di 10.000 le persone che hanno avuto accesso in questi luoghi di cure primarie, 200 le persone in Home Again e più di 400 i bambini che hanno trovato un tipo di risposta. Il piccolo video parlerà in particolare del progetto di Home Again.
Are there any questions for Pina, or remarks, or? The microphone. Michelle.
I'd be interested to understand the position of forced medication in the context of the different services and whether that happens or doesn't happen.
Medication, you mean for a psychiatric issue? Yeah. What I saw, I can tell you about what I saw. There are these primary care places where there is a kind of ambulatory place where there is a psychiatrist, and people from the community, they can go and receive some help directly from the psychiatrist. And there is a system, a kind of organization with this care worker and other professional. Each one of them has a number of people, about 10 people, 10 families, and they follow at home this 10 family where there is a mental health issue, and they take care of all the projects, and each 1 week, 1 month, depend from the situation, they go and see the psychiatrists in this place. There are many. There are about 11 of this kind of clinic around. And so each one of these psychiatrists, because in India there is the big problem, as you know, of course, a small number of psychiatrists, a small number of psychiatric professionals. So they find this way to involve the community and to involve natural supporter, carer, and this take care of this number of people, take care of all the process, and are connected, for example, each month with the psychiatrists to assess better the care into the situation, the specific situation of the family. So I found very interesting how they tried and developed a system to improve into the community, the resources into the community. So because they don't have professionals, created this kind of network. In India, there are organized in small micro community, 2,000 people, Panjat they call, where they meet. There is some referent for this small group, and so they can be connected with all these small group. I hope I answered to your question enough.
Okay, thank you. Now, I think, yes, we visited the Banyan, and unfortunately, Vandana couldn't come here, but their organization is not a complete network of services. So when there is some more severe psychiatric cases, they, at the end, they use the psychiatric hospital, which is available in Chennai, with, Pina can correct me, but with some problems in connecting their work with the institutional work done in the hospital. So the main place is called Transit, where it's just
the first one,
the first place where people are welcome and start this process of this pathway to recovery and social inclusion. And it's a big house. It's a big house with about 100 places, but they don't provide psychiatric care per se. They just provide some small,
also psychiatric
but it's
care,
not like a ward. I mean, it's not precisely like a ward, psychiatric ward. So I don't think they consider forced medication at all. So this is what we know. But they use the psychiatric hospital. That's why the Indian government has asked them to intervene in the issue of deinstitutionalization in many states, not just in Tamil Nadu, but also in Kerala and other places. They are involved in a process helping the institutionalization of psychiatric hospital, but not doing instead of?
Actually, they give psychiatric answer and medication also in this transit. And they were allowed in the last few years to collaborate with the psychiatric hospital. Until a few years ago, was even impossible to go into the psychiatric hospital. I was not allowed to go into, but in the last few years, they are trying to collaborate, and so they started to move some women from inside to outside. So it's growing, this collaboration.
Okay. No more questions? No? Okay. Okay, thank you, Pina,
Thank you.
for your presentation. And it's now, yeah, of course. It's now time for Brazil, and I'm looking for Mrs. Rosana Seabra Sade. There she is. Yeah, great. We'll have you here. Yeah. Okay, your presentation is about psychosocial care centers in Brazil. Yes. And the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Boa tarde. Agradeço grazie a tutti anche a Roberto per l'invito e adesso vado a parlare un poco non solo di centro di attenzione psicosociale, ma vado a parlare un poco della storia, come viene il centro e come sta oggi il centro di salute mentale in Brasile. Qua piccolo panorama di Brasile, no? Come è Brasile, un paese continentale. Abbiamo 5.570 municipi in Brasile, una popolazione di 208 milioni di abitanti. Come posso mettere via questi? Non si fa? Perché volevo parlare.
No. Yeah.
Thank you. Adesso è meglio parlare di piedi, rimane più tranquillo. Io vado a parlare un poco, abbiamo un sistema unico di salute in Brasile. Questo sistema di salute è un sistema sanitario l'unico che è per tutti la persona. Questo sistema di salute è venuto prima della legge della riforma psichiatrica, 1988. La Costituzione federale di Brasile ha promulgato questo sistema unico di salute universale. In 1987 abbiamo il secondo congresso nazionale do movimento di salute mentale. Questo movimento ha cominciato in una città in São Paulo che si chiama Bauru. Di questo movimento abbiamo una parola che è una società senza manicomio. Questo movimento era un movimento di usuário, di profissionali, di familiari di tutta la società. E di questo movimento ha cominciato il primo CAPS, o Centro di Attenzione Psicossociale in Brasile, a São Paulo, e questo CAPS è aperto in 1987, prima della legge, perché la legge è di 2001. Abbiamo più di 20 anni a legge che è approvata a riforma psichiatrica in Brasile, che si chiama a legge Paulo Delgado. Questa legge è la legge 10.216. In 2002 è approvato il decreto che normatizza il CAPS, o Centro di Attenzione Psicossociale, un anno dopo la legge. Che cosa è il Centro di Attenzione Psicossociale? È un servizio aperto nel territorio. Como o Brasile è troppo grande, come si ha pensato di fare? Tutti i municipi, come ho detto a voi, há più di 5.000 municipi in Brasile. Come si può fare CAPS per tutti 24 ore aperto? Così hanno pensato, dobbiamo fare che per municipio possiamo fare il CAPS. Così hanno fatto. Então, a legge è così. Abbiamo 6 módulos di CAPS. Si chiama Centro di Attenzione Psicossociale 1. È per una popolazione con più di 15.000 abitanti. Questo non è aperto 24 ore, è aperto 12 ore, di lunedì fino a venerdì. Então, di mattina fino a pomeriggio. Se una persona sta male di sera o fino di settimana, che cosa si fa? Certa volta è un problema perché abbiamo CAPS, però abbiamo l'ospedale psichiatrico. Solo che abbiamo anche l'ospedale generale che è a Postoletto. Então, la persona deve andare all'ospedale generale. Vado in fretta perché il tempo è corto. Aí CAPS 2, più di 70.000, CAPS 3. CAPS 3 è per una popolazione più grande, è una città grande, con più di 150.000 abitanti. Questi CAPS è 24 ore. Aperto di lunedì fino a lunedì. Dopo abbiamo CAPS che si chiama CAPS AD. È un CAPS diverso di CAPS 1, 2 e 3, che è per una persona con sofferenza psichica grave, e questo è un CAPS per persone che sono usuario di alcol o altro tipo di droga. Abbiamo CAPS 2 AD e CAPS 3 AD, che sono CAPS 24 ore. E abbiamo a CAPS che si chiama CAPS E, che è un CAPS di bambini. E qua si può vedere un poco come sta la distribuzione in 2000 fino a 2018 in Brasile. Abbiamo oggi 2.462 CAPS. Come si può vedere, a maggioranza è CAPS 1 e in nordeste di Brasile abbiamo 526 CAPS 1. E così la distribuzione che si può vedere. CAPS 1, CAPS 2, CAPS 3, abbiamo 100 CAPS 3 in tutto il Brasile, che sono CAPS 24 ore. ela si può vedere fino a 2014, in 2002, 51.393 posto letto aveva in ospedale psichiatrico. È caduto in 2014 25.988. Então, meso accaduto di 2002, 2001 la legge e 2014. Dopo questo non abbiamo tanto dati, perché come non lo so se tutti sanno, però fino al 2016 ha cambiato il governo e anche ha fermato abbastanza i dati e anche il sviluppo della riforma. La logica della riforma era: cade posto letto di ospedale psichiatrico, questi soldi devem andare al territorio per aprire più CAPs, per aprire più servizi. Nel 2017 abbiamo, anno aperto, no? 106 CAPs. Residenziale terapeutico, per persone che sono uscite dall'ospedale, che non hanno casa, si fa una casa che è un residenziale più o meno con 7-8 persone. 91 casa è aperta. Posto letto in ospedale generale, non ospedale psichiatrico, 175. E 3 unità di accoglienza. In 2018 ha cambiato un sacco di cose in Brasile, no? E só è aperto 3 CAPs e 17 residenziali terapeutico. E oggi, 2019, non abbiamo questi dati, però credo che non ha aperto quasi niente, perché ha cambiato diverse cose nella politica della salute mentale di Brasile. Qua un po' di foto di institucionalizazione, il diritto delle persone a casa, a stare nel territorio. Io ho poco tempo, io voglio parlare un poco anche di una ricerca che ho fatto in 2018 in un CAPES perché in 2015, quando stava finendo la coordinazione di Roberto Cicanore, lui stava con la Università di Rio Grande do Sul facendo la traduzione transculturale di Quality Writing. E noi in Brasile abbiamo la traduzione ufficiale di Quality Writing. Solo che io non ho fatto con la traduzione ufficiale, perché bisogna comitato, bisogna diversa cosa. Che come ho fatto questa ricerca? È una ricerca che ho fatto per un anno e mezzo, una ricerca etnografica in un CAPES 2, nella città di Lins, São Paulo. E ho fatto con il principio do quality writing, che sono questi. Com estas as dimensões de minha entrevista. E questa entrevista io ho fatto con utenti, anche familiari e con personale del CAPES. E che cosa diversa punto abbiamo sviluppato e as principais coisas que eu portato per voi é que della ricerca, não? Que se deve haver sviluppo della rete di assistenza psicossociale e di centri di salute 24 ore, espandere il lavoro intersettoriale con l'attenzione primaria in salute, che l'equipe deve avere un training di più, tudo que abbiamo parlato e abbiamo pensato, non solo in questa ricerca, ma in tutti questi 20 anni della riforma psichiatrica. E oggi che stiamo com um governo que está fazendo um grosso retrocesso, não só na saúde mental, mas no país, não? Não dobbiamo perdere a esperança e per avere la politica pública fatta não solo per governo, mas sim per noi. E boa prática é confronto que possiamo fare frente a este grosso retrocesso que está em meu país, não? Por exemplo, CAPES quando é venuta a legge, CAPES se parlava, CAPES é serviço substituto. Substituto per quê? Perché substitui il manicômio. Il soldi dell'ospedale psichiatrico si chiude il letto, viene per territorio. Questo governo ha fatto una interpretazione diversa di CAPES come serviço substituto. Adesso CAPES è substituto perché non sta nell'articolazione della rete, che era questo che CAPES faceva, stare nell'articolazione della rete. Adesso CAPES non sta no confronto della rete, ma está dentro della rete. Per questo è un serviço substituto. E così il governo adesso di Brasile fa la interpretazione che vuole, di accordo come vuole. Per questo dobbiamo estar forti com serviço de boas práticas e quality right é uma força para nós poder fare pouco com este confronto a este retrocesso. Adesso io ho piccolo vídeo de CAPES e que se pode vedere que se está fazendo boa prática em país que está em retrocesso.
Para vocês. This cries in the dream, evolution, holy and blue, side and do. If I say to myself,
olá, eu sou Luizinho Gonzaga, musicoterapeuta, e essa é a Marilene. A Marilene, ela fez 6 anos de musicoterapia comigo lá no CAPS 2.
Então, assim, eu vejo como uma bênção, né? Como uma luz, como algo que me libertou de muitas coisas, muitos medos, muitas dificuldades. E, assim, foi maravilhoso fazer musicoterapia, né? A música me encantou, me ajudou a superar, hoje eu auxilio algumas outras pessoas. Para mim, a música é tudo, e ela dentro do processo terapêutico foi libertadora. Flor de ir embora é uma flor que se alimenta do que a gente chora, rompe a terra decidida, flor do meu desejo de correr o mundo afora.
Canta uma música pra nós.
Canta, minha gente, deixa assim. O papel de passa, né, seu filho, meu Botafogo, do deserto daí, né? Botafogo não, neném não. Aí, não é neném.
Canta,
Não,
minha
Botafogo,
gente, deixa a tristeza pra lá.
Canta forte, canta alto, que a vida vai melhorar.
Estamos sozinhos ultimamente, não me vejo à minha frente, nada que me dê prazer.
Are there any questions for Rosanna? No? Okay, then I leave you to my colleague, Professor Manuela Ruggieri from Verona, and she's now here.
Good afternoon. Sorry for my delay. It was raining very, very heavy. And congratulations for your work. I've been in Brazil recently, and it was really wonderful work that the people were doing. And it's really, really a pity that bad politics can destroy in 1-2 years the work of many, many years. we hope that you will be able to cope with that and to remain strong. Next presentation is regards homelessness home team. It is a very, very interesting topic, and the speakers will be Anthony Ruffin and Carrie Morrison from USA. I know that Trieste people are doing an experiment, a new service just dedicated to this issue. This also is a very important accomplishment.
Buon pomeriggio. Siamo le ultime presentazioni prima di caffè, so we will not dally. Good afternoon, everyone. It is just a pleasure to be here. I'm Carrie Morrison from Los Angeles, my colleague Anthony Ruffin. We were both here 2 years ago, making the pilgrimage to Trieste, which I think is what this is, especially when you travel 30 hours to get here from California, in order to learn about this model and to be inspired for a system in the United States that frankly is failed and broken. And we are so inspired and heartened to hear about advances made to promote the dignity and the whole person life and recovery of our brothers and sisters who suffer from mental illness all over the world. So we're going to share with you today a little bit about something we're trying to do back home in Los Angeles. It's not pretty. We're not proud of the situation that we have devolved into in Los Angeles. You're going to hear a little bit more about this tomorrow because we are gratefully working under a twinning agreement with Trieste under the International Mental Health Collaborating Network. And I'm proud to say that 38 of my colleagues from Los Angeles and California, people who are leaders in every space of the mental health policy, government, social service, political leaders, etc., have come here to this conference to humbly learn from you and to take lessons back. So today we're going to talk a little bit about actually what kind of inspired our interest in Trieste a couple years ago. And actually it started in Hollywood. I used to work as the head of a business district in Hollywood. We have tremendous homelessness in California, in Los Angeles, and frankly in America, which is sad in a country that is so wealthy that we would allow this to happen. But in Los Angeles County in particular, we have 60,000 people who are homeless, and about 30% of those individuals suffer from mental illness. Now, in Hollywood, a few years ago, in 2013, we were noticing that a lot of people were being helped to get off the street, that they were being housed, but there was a very small group of people, a very small cohort, that we ended up making a list. It was going to be the top 10, and we added 4 more names and made it the top 14. And this was the original Hollywood top 14. People, the most severely mentally ill, some who had been homeless on the streets of Hollywood for over 20 years. And they were marginalized from any system. In some cases, people didn't even know their name. One of the gentlemen up here, no one had ever heard him speak. They were not entered into the regular databases that would try to track people. And so we had a little group that came together in 2013, and we decided to begin to work on helping these individuals to get to know them and to figure out what it would take to get them off the street. And what I find in looking back, that everything that is intuitive and natural about what is done in Trieste, we did naturally as lay people. Try to find out about their family, try to find out what they like to do, what were their interests, what did they like to eat. We were not clinicians, we were just regular people. So what had occurred with this group was some transformative stories. People who had gone from sitting in their own excrement on the street to becoming transformed into a person that you could sit and have a lunch with. And I will tell you, and one of the things that could be controversial, but in about 5 of these cases, we had to seek an involuntary hospitalization because we were afraid that if not, they would die. And unfortunately, in America, that is one of our only tools. And we are going to work very hard to change that, but right now, that is one of our only tools. 3 of the people on this list actually did die on the streets of Hollywood. 1 ended up in prison, and a couple have come back. So this was the inspiration, and when we came 2 years ago, Anthony Ruffin, I'm going to let him tell you a story. He is a very gifted outreach and engagement worker. I have found, I am not the one who does this hard work, so don't give me the credit, but people like Anthony and others have what I call a certain DNA, where they're able to get on the level to engage with people, to meet them where they're at, to get down low, to create that relationship. And at the time when Anthony was helping us with the Hollywood Top 14, he was working for a nonprofit organization whose mantra was, whatever it takes for as long as it takes. And we have found that in working with people with mental illness who are homeless, you have 2 groups of people. You have the nonprofit sector, and then you have the government sector. The nonprofit sector tends to be willing to work overnight, 24 hours, Saturdays, Sundays. The government sector really expects that any mental health problem should happen Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. And if you have a problem at 3:30 on a Friday, you're probably not going to get any assistance. So 2 years ago when we were here, Dr. Sharon, who is our new head of our county Department of Mental Health, and he's a change agent, and he's a person who inherited a huge bureaucracy, and he's trying to change it. He engaged Anthony and invited him to come into the Department of Mental Health to bring the culture and the flexibility and the willingness to do what it takes and to train people in the Department of Mental Health, the government side, to do the challenging kind of outreach that could actually help lure people off the streets. So Anthony now has been working for about 2 years in the Department of Mental Health, in the bureaucracy, as I like to say, in the belly of the beast. I don't know how you translate that in Italian, but the belly of the beast, to try to change the culture and to begin to train the staff to work with this population. So I'm going to let Anthony share a little bit about his challenges and his successes in that respect.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you all for having me. So this is one of the, so my name is Anthony Rupp, and I've been doing this type of work with these type of individuals for the last 13 years in Los Angeles County. And what I found was a system that was fragmented and broken in Los Angeles County. Our hospitals are not equipped to deal with these type of individuals. Our homeless services is not equipped to deal with these type of individuals. There's no interim housing for these type of individuals. There's no housing subsidies for these type of individuals. And our only recourse at some times is to involuntarily hospitalize some of these people. And unfortunately, a lot of these people end up passing away on our streets of Los Angeles. And I got into this work to help people. Human to human, help people. And what I found is that these individuals have the capacity to withstand rain, heat, and exhaustion for decades at a time, with no social supports, no services, or no one to care about them. And what I try to do is reach people on a human basis, one person to another person, and help rebuild people's lives. And sometimes it can be difficult, sometimes it can be fun, and sometimes it can be exhausting. And dealing with the bureaucracy of Los Angeles County and the city of Los Angeles can be heartbreaking at sometimes. But I know it's a fight because I'm trying to save somebody's life. or get them off the streets. And this guy right here, I can start with this guy here. So when I came to the Department of Mental Health, if we had to do a paradigm shift in the way we do outreach in Los Angeles County, the Department of Mental Health. And Dr. Sharon invited me to come along and join this DMH Home Teams, which is an outreach team, a multidisciplinary team that's countywide with street psychiatry, medical people, LCSWs, clinicians, peer support, and outreach workers, community workers, and have these teams work together as a team to help assist with these individuals. And try to get away from the 9 to 5 point of view and change the paradigm in the way we go about working with the people with severe mental illness on our streets. It's 58,000 homeless people in a city in the county of Los Angeles. Out of that 58,000, we believe approximately 4,000 of these individuals exist on our streets. And we have outreach teams out there day and night sometimes trying to work with these individuals and get them into our coordinated entry system. But sometimes that doesn't even work. This individual right here was homeless for 19 years off what we call our radar, where he wasn't getting any type of services from first responders, our police departments, our fire departments, our outreach workers, with no movement. He was on the streets for 19 years. And he stayed in this one spot for approximately 10 years. As you can see, his food around him, but all of that food is rotten and it was rotten and it had rats in it. And you can see his tennis shoes. These were his tennis shoes, and his feet are showing in his tennis shoes, where his feet were just ratted with his tennis shoes. And he had psychosis. He believed that aliens didn't want him to eat, and he believed that peanut butter in his hair would keep him alive. And what we did was we went out and met this individual with our street psychiatrist, and we discussed this person, and we came to the conclusion that this person may be gravely disabled, unable to care for himself. Flip the thing. So when we got back to the office, our new approach is to do this with thinking about the whole person. We're thinking about the whole person when we do this work. So the philosophy has to switch. So what we did was did an outboard, a whiteboard, about this individual, and we put this on a board for our teams to learn how to do this work. And what you can see is our mental health system and how it works. And each black line is where the person can fall out of care. So our teams set up this diagram and came up with a plan to assist this person, knowing that we're working in a fragmented system. And what you can see is what we call a 5150 hold, a 5250 hold, and then we had the hospitals right here, and we marked down our codes in California, what we use for involuntary hospitalization. But the plan was not to hospitalize him for a long period of time. What we wanted to do is hospitalize him to get him stable on some medication and see if we can assist him to recovery. So what we done was went out and we hospitalized him with the hopes of recovery. And when we got to the hospitals, our teams worked around the clock for 60 days in a hospital with this individual. We made sure that he wasn't restrained. We made sure that the doctors cared about him. We made sure the psychiatrists cared about him. And we made sure he didn't get discharged back to the streets. Because a lot of our clients like this suffer trauma every time they're hospitalized. And our teams do not follow these individuals to ensure that this doesn't happen to them again. So part of that shift is that we don't want this to happen to people over and over and over again without any care. So what we did was we did this outline, and we kind of knew what the hospitals were going to do. And the teams were taught how to shift to prepare for whatever the hospitals may do. And we had our teams going around the clock at the hospital for 60 days. And at the end of 60 days, this is what we got. A totally different person that was able to speak, that was able to talk, that was able to say what he needed. And our teams listened to him. And what we found is that he had a sister. And his sister was going out there for 19 years and didn't know what to do. She called first responders, she called fire departments, and they all told her, he's okay. This gentleman now was released out of the hospital, and our teams picked him up. He is now what we call living in our boarding care system, and our teams are still following him today, and our psychiatrists still following him today. We buy him clothes, we take him food, we take him to the beach. We do a lot of different things with this individual, and most importantly, his family is involved. His family is involved in his care. Because what I learned here 2 years ago is the whole person. We're going to look at the whole person, and we're going to try to get this person back into their community, back with their family, and ensure that we have a meaningful relationship with the person. And I thank our team in SPA 2 that done this work, because without them, it wouldn't have been possible. And Carrie, go ahead and show them. So this is our team that did this work.
Which one's the sister? Is that her?
The sister is right here in the middle, right here. So she came to our office probably about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and she thanked us for our work. And she thanked us for working in a fragmented system and finding success with her brother. And we found out that she was severely mentally ill at one point, and he used to take care of her. We also found out that his 80-year-old father used to come out there and try to get him to come home, and he passed away 2 years ago and didn't see his son come home. So our team, each individual on this team has seen this person at least twice. And his team took turns around the clock ensuring that he didn't leave the hospital without adequate care, without housing, without food, and didn't have to walk back to a corner at 12 o'clock at night, because our hospitals are known to discharge at 1 o'clock in the morning. And people usually have to walk back to where they came from, or we lose them on the streets. And what I didn't say about this person is, when we hospitalized him, we found out if we didn't get him in the hospital, within 5 days he would have died because he needed a blood transfusion. And we were there when he got his blood transfusion. We were there when he came out of the operating room. We were there when he met his sister for the first time. We were there when the psychiatrist was there. We were there when he walked out of the hospital. And we were there when he ate his first meal with his family. And it's my job to come to the Department of Mental Health to teach this paradigm shift with the way we do outreach in Los Angeles County. We don't know how many people are out there. We think it's about 4,000, maybe 4,000. And our teams scatter all of Los Angeles County looking for these type of individuals to do this type of work. Not too long ago, I was at a court where we were working with a lady that was schizophrenia, substance abuse. She had a developmental disability, and she was homeless on Skid Row for 14 years. She was incarcerated and thought we forgot about her. But we went into the jails, we went into the courts, we talked to the judge, we talked to her, and she agreed to services, and she agreed to housing. And this is a lady that we were told that she was not housable because our system didn't have anything for her. But today she's housed from jail. She's on her medication, and she's been to see her son for the first time in about 3 weeks that she hasn't seen in 13 years. Yeah. So with that being said, it's a fundamental shift in the way the Department of Mental Health is starting to do their outreach. In a way, we're starting to take care of people and looking at the whole person and not just the sickness. Thank you.
Other questions?
Time for cafe.
Just a comment. While you were speaking, I took a note of three very simple aspects of your very complex work, which is you simply gave respect, presence, and sense of a possible future.
Correct.
These are attitudes that don't cost so much. And the homeless issue seems to be a major issue, something that is unsolvable, something that is a shame of course, and it seems that there is no way to change it. Instead, I think with your intervention, and I think also with the future work of Trieste, I think it will be possible to prove that this can be made.
Thank you. Thank you.
And coffee time.
Thank you.